Welcome to The Fix,
the new way to get your copy reviewed by two former copy chiefs.
because whether you're an aspiring copywriter or you've been in the industry for decades,
The best way to improve your work isn't to read books, blog posts, or online guides.
it's to see real writing, your writing, being reviewed and improved in front of your eyes.
And that's the goal of The Fix, to bring you inside a virtual writer's room
And watch along as we review, edit and rewrite real copy.
from real writers like you. So let's get straight into this week's episode. And remember, if you like what you see here,
Please share The Fix with anyone you think would find it valuable. It is completely free. Hello and welcome to another episode of The Fix. Another little first for us today. We're actually going to revisit a piece of copy or an idea that we looked at in one of our earlier episodes. Not exactly the same piece of copy. So to give you the backstory here, a few episodes ago, I don't know exactly which number it was, we talked about a product, a chair and a stool combination that's supposed to help you help with back pain. Now, if you can go back and look for that in the archive, it's on YouTube and it's also on our website, it'll probably be in your inbox as well. That piece of copy has been reworked by the people behind the product, and we're going to look at their next offering here. So you can watch this episode as a standalone, of course. However, if you want the full picture, you might want to go back and look at the episode. I think we titled it, Does Your Back Hurt? It was one of our most viewed episodes, probably because lots of people have a bad back, and therefore that subject line and title got a lot of people interested in watching, which is testament to the copy that Glenn wrote about it. So you can go back and watch that piece of copy if you us review that piece of copy if you want, or you can just watch this episode. Glenn, welcome.
hello,
We're in the studio again
we
today,
are in the studio again, yeah.
in the same location, and we can take advantage of the fact that we have competent technical staff rather than just me on my computer.
I will require it to be bigger.
Yeah.
Wherever it might be in this room, it needs to be bigger.
We're going to review a piece of copy, but it's actually a video that's already been made by the company that makes this product. So why don't we play that to begin with rather than me reading it aloud, and then we'll pick it apart and see how we can improve it. So let's roll that video now, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it. Okay, so a nice piece of work, I would say.
It's nice, it looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, let's start big picture and then we'll get more specific, because I think there are things you could do to improve that.
Definitely.
Obviously, a good piece of work has some of the ideas in it that we talked about.
Yep.
Now, I don't want to take credit for anything that somebody else has done, but Simon, the founder, owner, person behind that company, told me via email that they'd seen something like a 500% uplift in impressions on Facebook or something like that. Now, that's not, we know that impressions and clicks aren't sales, but it's certainly an improvement on whatever they were running.
Nice to see a general copy point and aside, to go on a tangent as we do to ruin that flow of things, but you sent me the charts, and Simon, who, thank you very much for sending the stuff, but showed us a chart. I always say with a chart, if you're going to use a chart in copy, you need to be able to look at it and immediately with just glimpse it and see what's going on. And the chart was literally a line like that, and then just a great line up, which was fantastic to see. A, for the product owner, but also that taking this stuff on board works. Ruth, I was explaining it to my partner, and she went, "What? Just the words? They changed the words?" And I was like, what do you think I do for a living? Like, that's the point. But so yeah, no, it's really nice to see.
Yeah, so it's nice that we're having an impact, however indirect. And you can see why that piece of copy is generating clicks. You know, it's direct in its own way. Now it has okay. So I'm going to give my general thoughts on it, and then I'm going to get a bit more specific. So there are some decisions that have been made that you could look at. So for instance, the text is on the screen, but you can't hear any of it. There's music instead of voiceover. There's a certain sort of style to it. Now that may be in keeping with sort of the wider brand or the, you know, for want of a better word, the vibe you want to create. And we're not here to tell people how they should position their company in terms of vibe, but those are decisions that you should think about. So, you know, do you want text on screen and just a piece of music? I also thought, just for me, it was quite a stylistic and slightly artistic opening. Before even, I don't know how many seconds it was before the text, "Does your back hurt?" came up. I'd want that as a you know, that text to be part of the thumbnail personally. If that's what's working, if that's what's getting people interested. There's two pieces of evidence that I would use to support the theory that it is. One, it's obviously generating better results than they were having. And two, when we put that as our subject line and the title of our review of that business and that piece of copy, I got tons of emails, messages from friends and stuff like that. So in a way that none of our other videos that we've put out quite have. And that tells you that when you say, "Does your back hurt?" you put that claim, or it's not even a claim, is it? It's just it's a question. It generates a response and an emotional response, because otherwise, why would people be getting in touch with me? You know, these are just friends who've maybe seen something that I've done. So I'd want to get that as early as possible. I'd like to get it text on screen at the beginning if I could, and I would go for a voiceover there or some, you know, just in case. It
might be a technical thing. I'm thinking from the format. I'm looking. I'm seeing social media as the outlet here, and I know Simon does Facebook stuff, and there is maybe a technical consideration where people are often watching or consuming social media at work or on the phones, and they can't have the sound. So that's where they might be. You're looking for the thing. That said, and while I'm on it, I think stylistically for this product, it is a stylish product, and I mean that in a nice way. I think it looks really nice. And I think it's probably the audience that you're going for. I think rather than trying to fix Grandad's back, it's fixing creative director's back in his stylish office. So I think I kind of go with the vibe there, but I wholeheartedly agree with the impact. So though you can have style, though you can have that vibe, and we were going to call the fix the vibe, but it got overruled unfortunately. But though you can have all of that, you can still have that impact initially, and I think it's just lacking that like hit at the beginning, because it's kind of a little bit of a pause, which if you had a pause in like a book or any other format of media, if there's just blank pages at the beginning, you'd flick beyond those blank pages. And in the internet world, online, you don't get that choice. Like you've gone. So
well, these are all actually a good way of thinking about all of the suggestions we're going to make is they're all tests, really. That's a nice piece of work that's been put together. So we're not actually saying change anything about that.
No.
We're saying that's your control.
Yeah.
So make a version that maybe has sound.
Yep.
That has the text being read aloud. Test it.
Yep.
You'll see the market will tell you which one wins. We don't know.
Yep.
You could be exactly right, but test that theory out. Don't decide.
And it might be a case that run it with a sound, but then have closed captions or whatever they're called on it as well, so that you've got all these things. Of course. But I think there's a good underlying point with copy in general. It is about what ifs. It is about just trying stuff. It might not work. Like it's just you've got the opportunity to have different options. So you try different options. The market will ultimately guide you as to what works. It's annoying sometimes because your choice. I always remember when the world switched to video sales letters, and as a writer, I was like, woe is me that they don't need my work. Of course they do. They need it for the script, but there was just that initial thing. And a friend of ours, Dave, was like sat there watching the sales come in, and the normal one, the written letter was going, and I was like, yes, come on. But then all of a sudden it was just the VSL at the time was new, it was unique, and it went flying out. It was still all my work, but it just felt like personally like, oh, damn it. But the market told us what works, so you follow that line. So it's always about...
Well, it's difficult. I mean, testing is the most sort of scientific part of what we do, because creatively we come up with a theory and we think this is better than this. And we may want one to win over the other, but scientifically we don't.
Yes.
You don't want, because say for instance you think, well, I don't want the one that has a voiceover to work. Fine, but what if it does? What if that gets you better results?
True.
What if your customers respond better to that?
Yes.
Don't you want what they want?
Yes.
So it's while it's completely natural to have the preference, of course, because we're all engaged in our work, we're all creative people, and therefore, of course, there's going to be a hierarchy within our own way of looking at things. But don't let that tip us go, well, I won't test that in case it wins. Well, if it wins, it was better for your customers, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And ultimately, you want to serve your customers. The best way of serving your customers is to give them what they'll respond best to. They'll let the market lead you. So I'm not suggesting that there's an anti-testing bias here, but that all of these suggestions, so that, for instance, getting that in earlier, getting that in, getting the sound in would be one thing I would test. Just to kind of move on to another suggestion. The mid part, it said something like, our design is scientifically proven to something. I can't remember the exact, but now I've got two suggestions there. Whenever you use the word our, I always think, who are you? I don't mean like aggressively as a consumer, but I think, okay, well, was there an opportunity to be more human there? And then scientifically proven is like, well, what does that, by which scientist? And there's a chance to tell a deeper story. Now, if you go back to the original episode about this, Simon, the founder of the company, had been part of his sort of backstory, and part of what I found compelling about what the story he was telling was he'd been voted Inventor of the Year or something like that in 2011, I think I remember. I would test something like that. In fact, if it was me working on that project, I'd be asking him to get in front of the camera himself, probably starting with the phrase, does your back hurt? Well, my name is Simon. I'm a former Inventor of the Year, and I've got a solution that I think I would do that because that solves the answer, that solves the our, well, who are we? Well, you've told me who you are. You're a person. That credibility that you've given me of Inventor of the Year is slightly more compelling to me. And then the proposition, I've got a solution. I don't know it. That sounds to me more compelling than scientifically proven. And I don't know if that would work. And it may well be that you'd have to force Simon in front of the camera because he may not want to. But often you have to do that, and you have to get outside of your comfort zone and say, I'll try it. But people want to buy from people.
The sentence where it goes, it says our design in the frame before, like designed into the background of the thing, and I'm giving away what I'm saying here because it's designed into the background, that our design.
Yeah.
So I didn't see it. So when it came on, I was like, why does that sentence start halfway through? Or it's not capitalised? And I thought, if it was capitalised, that doesn't make any sense because I'd missed the our design.
Yeah.
It's a really small thing, but it's about flow. It's about thing. I don't see that. So if I don't see it, assume that 50 more people don't see it. So it's like a disjoint for me. It's a mark where I'm like, all right.
It's also not a design, it's a chair.
Yes.
Just to be slightly facetious, it's a chair. You don't need to say our design, our specially designed chair or whatever.
And it ties in, so I'll do all of my, around that little area, the impact is missing. Next bit is that you said the magic word solution, and like it's like a rash. When you say solution in like, especially like the indirect world, and just saying solution is not providing a solution. Like the word unique, it's like I'll go X-rated. My poo is unique. Every single one. It doesn't mean it's good or whatever. And solution is that kind of word. So I'd immediately look for an alternative to that, because what is it a solution to? Oh, your back pain. But that flow of copy there, does your back hurt? Our designer's got the solution. It feels a little bit, it's just not got much strength to it because I'm going, yeah, my back does hurt. And you go, oh, we've got the solution. And it's like, well, what is the solution? And my mind's just not quite flowing with the thing. And what I really want to see, and I feel like before we get to the testimonials, which are really strong, there's a bit missing. You've offered a test of by filling in with credibility, which I think is one way of doing it. You might actually be able to do it cleverly, but by getting both. But I think you need to kind of see the design. You need to tell what is the solution. The chair is the solution, but it's not. It's what's unique about the chair, its design, its support, its lumbar stuff. There's nothing of that in there.
The one thing.
Yeah,
what's the?
And it just it went so when you say we've got your solution, it's like saying we're passionate about back pain or like we're passionate about coffee. No, you're not. Get lost. It's like what it's nothing language, and I think it's so a combination of you've got the solution. So I've naturally like, oh, right, okay, same as everybody else has got the solution, but then it's like actually what. You've got the solution. Oh, is it the chair, or is it the design? Or I didn't see the design, but like, what is it about that? I guess it comes back to specificity. One viewer pointed out my inability to say specificity, but congratulated.
This is actually
through the episode.
Take 103 of this show.
Yeah, I was thinking about that on the way here. I was like, oh, we need to do an outtakes, but we just include all of them anyway.
Yeah, these are all first drafts, Glenn.
So, but yeah, that for me, it just the flow of that copy, where I think it's great and it's an improvement. You've got the initial grab of does your back hurt, and it is a question that you are answering the positive. If the answer is no, we don't even care about you anyway, kind of thing. So it is yes. If you've kind of self-selected your audience, so that works. We've seen the subject line works. We've seen that as a piece of code. But then that next bit for me was just like design-wise, our design that's lost in the tech, that lost in the background doesn't work for me. So I'd definitely get rid of that. Like I wouldn't even test that. I'm just telling you that will improve it. But then actually I'd get that second. Delete the solution line and come in with something. Test A might be from Inventor of the Year, a brand new lumbar support thing that does whatever. Just get a little bit, not too scientific, but just something that shows rather than says it's scientifically proven. Like that's just telling you that it's scientifically proven. Show it, like maybe you might be able to do a little bit of VT where it kind of does ... to the back and shows you the support or something. I think there is some footage on that video there that kind of does that. That needs to just be dialed up a notch, I think. And then, so you could do the credibility or just do something a bit more direct and as I say, get rid of saying it's the solution. Spell it out. You need to spell. You do always need to spell it.
Well, there's a third way, which is to make it a hook, which is to say, I think I found the answer.
Yep.
I've shared it with these people.
Yep.
Go into the testimonials. Do you want to know what it is? Click here to find out more. So you withhold the technical, because of course this is it's a piece of copy that's going to go probably on Facebook or Instagram, something like that. We don't have to close the sale here. This is the top of the funnel. So assuming that the page they're going to does provide more, maybe there's a case study, you have a lot more space there. You can take that piece of information out. We think we found the answer, or I found a surprising answer, or I found the answer in the last place you'd expect, or whatever it is, something that piques my interest.
He just opens himself out of a cupboard at the end.
Yeah, you have the spine removed. You could withhold that piece of information. Yeah. So long as you explicitly say to find out what the answer is, so you create the itch and then say to scratch the itch. Yep. Go here, would add a secondary hook.
I mean, you could use the testimonials as the way of showing that it works. So you said, does your back hurt? It doesn't need to. And then it doesn't. Says this.
That's a very good way of doing it, yeah.
And does that. So that's all just showing. And then backload the video so you get the detail at the end where it's like the brand new headshot.
Perhaps you say, does your back hurt? There is hope.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to. So just something, something like that. Yeah. Hope is a slightly stronger emotion to sell on rather than mystery. But either one of those two things could work. I think you don't have to say too much there, but you do you're right. I almost wonder if, because we're obviously reviewing copy every week, we almost need to come up with like a klaxon alert for certain things. So unique is one, and I think solution is another. Incorrect uses of the word we do this, we believe that. You know, these are things where it's almost like we need to rework that copy.
They've become cliches within the industry for a reason, and it means it basically it's like an invisibility sticker. As soon as you use these cliches, it means you're invisible. It's the opposite of a pattern disruptor. You are literally following the pattern that everybody else is following.
Well, a good way of thinking about that, I think, is if you always ask yourself this question: have I heard that in another advert or another blog post or another whatever? And that's why I'm reaching for that phrase. If you answer that question in the affirmative, sort of reject that impulse. You're looking for, have I ever heard someone say that down the pub or around the dinner table? Those are the cliches. If we want to go for cliches or, you know, those commonly used phrases, if they're things, nobody talks about solutions. That, oh, I've got a really compelling solution to your pint-based problem. Go to the bar. You know, do you know what I mean? Like, no one talks like that. So if you can at least ape the language of natural, normal life, you will. It might not be the most compelling piece of writing ever, because it might not have that freshness, but it'll be a lot better than I've seen it in another advert. Right, let's move along. So because there's kind of 4 parts to this. So we've got the opening, which I think is strong, and the sort of general vibe. Then there's that claim. And then there's the testimonials, which I agree they were strong. The one thing I would do is I put the person's name on there. I actually didn't notice they were testimonials until I just looked a bit closer and saw that there was quotation marks, because it's not obvious that the people in the video are, because they all looked great. I mean, if they're customers, then you've got, you know, that I don't know, they almost look like they were extras in an advert.
Yeah, it was a little bit VT, and that might be necessary. Again, it might be a speed thing. You've got to really get a short edit to get it running in like 30 seconds on Facebook or something. And fair play, like obviously in the perfect world, I think you'd be doing a slightly longer thing and a cutaway to man sat in the chair saying, I'm fine. But yeah, just make sure the quotation mark. Again, it's a design feature really.
Yeah.
It's part of the importance of understanding design as a copywriter. I think we were talking about this separately. I was talking about this with someone else recently. But you do need to know all of this stuff and be very aware of it. And that's, stuff's right, but it just needs bringing out.
Well, yeah, like a bigger, this is going to sound like the most facile piece of advice, a bigger set of quotation marks and the name and location of the, you know, of the person giving the testimonial, assuming you can. You know, you can't always, but it's testimonial. This is, we want the reader to just read the testimonial and think, what, because they were super strong, we want them to just think, wow. We don't want them to be thinking for a second, hang on, who said that? Or what was that? Oh, it's a customer, right? Because by the time they've thought that, they've missed the next one. So testimonials are delivered in a certain format for a reason. There's no need to innovate with the format of testimonials there. Make it clear that our customers said this, quotation marks, maybe even that at the top of the screen. There's probably a video person watching us now thinking, you're going to ruin the video, and I get that. But we're probably not. We're probably going to make it work better. And ultimately,
get the core right, but then get the design.
Yeah, it's a beautifully made video that I don't want, you know, if this was passed on to somebody who'd made that, I wouldn't want them to think I've done a bad job, because they haven't. No, we're talking about how you optimize something like that. So that's something.
We're looking at the text ultimately, aren't we?
Yeah, and the underlying, you know, a piece of video that's also a piece of copywriting needs to tick boxes from both camps. It needs to look compelling from a video point of view, but it does also, if it's a testimonial and I don't know it's a testimonial, then it doesn't tick that box. So that's the challenge. It's a creative challenge. No one view should be sort of supreme over the other. But it just took me a second to work out that they were testimonials, and those testimonials are very, very strong. I would say I wouldn't change them at all. They were well edited.
Yeah, no, I think that was good, and it seems to be one of the strongest pulls of the product.
It's the point.
It's working. So
it's the point at which you go, oh wow, he's not lying.
Yeah,
this does work.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny because I've got a real back pain problem at the moment, and I think later in the video when you see the chair in use and you can see how it supports the back and pushing in. I thought, actually, yeah, that's the chair. Like literally, Ruth's got her nana now telling me to get a new chair at home, kind of thing. but I could see it, and that's what I was looking for earlier on. It wasn't there, kind of thing.
Well, it's a very compelling looking.
Yeah. So
Perhaps you start on the image.
Yeah, maybe.
Perhaps you say, "This does your back hurt? This chair." Could be the answer to back pain. Because it looks different enough that you think maybe it is the answer. It doesn't look like my chair.
Now I am thinking from like the videographer or whatever who's thinking, as soon as you do that, it's going to come and say, does your back hurt, with the picture of the chair, as though that's the torture implement that's making your back hurt. So there is these things you need to like.
But that's testable. You could, the market will tell you whether that's right. So that's the testimonials. I just wanted to make a point about the call to action.
Yeah.
Because that's something that I think has been taken on from one of the suggestions that we made. So it's nice to see, I think I mentioned mattresses and said, they usually come with some form of guarantee. Now, so it's nice to see that's happened. Obviously, you can't always have a guarantee that's that compelling. My issue, something that I would change, it was the wording. There's two things. Now, it said, if I remember rightly, it said, your risk-free 30-day trial awaits.
Yeah.
Well, okay, call to action.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, okay? If it's waiting for me, I'm not being called to act upon it. Now, we are going to come across as overly pedantic, really, but I would actually argue that's a sign that we're looking at a really good piece of copy, because what we're doing is we're tightening.
Yes.
We're not taking it apart. It's exactly the right thing. Now, risk-free 30-day trial, I would have a question of, okay, I'm thinking about my back. Is it risk-free? Could it not hurt so is risk-free the right, is it the right term? We'll park that and come back to it. Awaits. Yeah. You don't want it to be awaiting the reader. You're asking your reader to take action. Call to action. Call them to action. So the verb needs to be an active. So it tends to be claim, take, grab, whatever.
Yep.
Get yours now. 30-day money back. Get yours now, complete with the 30-day money back guarantee.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, whatever.
Just something like that will improve.
As soon as you started explaining it, I knew you were going to say the same thing. But yeah, it jumped out at me in a big way that it was awaits, and it's like Cinderella waiting for the prince to come put a slipper on, kind of thing. It's like it's just feels so passive, where it's it's waiting there. It is a call to action. You've explained it exactly.
And you don't need. I think calls to action, and this area of the industry is the part that people tend to have the most problem with, because it can be a bit. It's the most overtly salesy, isn't it? You're asking them to buy something. Now, there's lots of different ways to talk about this. I always say, whenever I'm working with anybody, do you like your product? Are you proud of your product? Will your product make your customer's life better? If the answer to those things is yes, well, why should you feel anything other than proud to say buy it? Or try it. Try it now. Just try it. You won't know until you try it. That aside, you have to find a way of doing something that you're comfortable with, that fits with the vibe of your business. But I still think you need to ask or tell your reader to do something. And just saying it's waiting for you feels like, well, it'll still be there next week, won't it? And yeah, you might want that to be your sales technique. So you might need to really think about your wording, but I still think it needs to be an active verb. You need to call them to action, or even if it's just learn more here, or learn more about our 30-day guarantee, 30-day money back guarantee here.
I think it's as well. It was something about speed that slowed me down. When it says, wait, I'm watching that, I'm engaged, I'm interested, I want to know more, like I want to find out this. But when it kind of goes, it waits, it just slows me down and goes, okay, calm down. I didn't feel as though it's like, all right, where do I go? It just slowed me down, even though it seems so like mean, like minute and as I say, pedantic almost, but the truth is, as Ruth was saying, like, what, just the words change? Yes, like a word will change. We are literally driven by words every day, and if they're slowing you down, they are going to slow you down. It's just going to make me think, oh well, it's there for me, so I'll do that later. Whereas it wants to be now. It wants to be like this is happening now. Like so, it's as well as getting the verb it's an action thing. You want people to be it's that feeling of, why do I need to do it now? And as you say, people, if they've got a bad back, they're in pain, they're suffering, you shouldn't feel any guilt over being slightly more, we'll say aggressive, but it's not really aggressive.
Direct.
It's just more direct. It's just more like firm, saying, we need to get this to you now. Like, that's the vibe you should be in. You should be like, well, you need to get hold of this because it's things. So just up that flavour to it. When I write that copy, I would be in that mindset. I would be urgent. I always talk about getting, like, running at the computer to write your copy. Like, you want to, my office, I have a couch here which I lay on thinking until I've got what I think will be the first bit of copy, and then I will literally, it sounds like
you will run or e-scooter to the computer.
Yes, I will roll slightly into my desk. But I run at the thing and I'm actively tapping away, or sometimes I'll do by hand, but I will get there in it and I'm engaged with it, which is partly why my back's so bad. But it is about getting that physical thing. So what I'd advise Simon or in the writers working on this is get, where am I? Not just where the reader is. That's a given. We think about where are they in that moment. And where are they? They're in pain. They need to stop that pain. So they're leaning into you. So you need to lean into them. So think about it physically. Go, oh, I've got to tell you this great thing. I've got this ace chair that I'm really proud of. I've got to tell you about it. Get into that vibe. And so even if you're not a writer or you're not quite sure what to say or how to say it, a good way of doing it, almost a bit subconsciously, is to physically get in the vibe yourself. Like, how do you feel while you're trying to write that? And it goes back into the kind of weird magic cupboard of copy, but it just fills you, and then you start some part of your brain. I'm sure there's about 1,000 behavioural science books on it, but some part of your brain kicks in where that will choose the right language for you because you're in the moment. So you definitely, when you're in the moment, will not be going, your product awaits. It's like, no. It's not the thing. So you'd say something more naturally anyway.
There is, I think perhaps we should wrap up after this point, but there's a sort of shortcut way around this in social media platforms, which I think I'm right in saying, so Facebook defines what your call to action can be anyway. So I think you're given a choice of learn more, find out more, whatever. You can't change what's on the button. They give you options. Yeah. So if you're at all in doubt, just say for more, click here, and just put an arrow that will point to where the button is. Because ultimately it's a Facebook ad, right? So you're trying to drive them to your landing page where you can talk to them at length, you can make your offer then. So if in doubt, just drive them to that button. Now, it doesn't need to be ridiculous, but that's still a more compelling call to action, because it's just do this. You're making their life simple. Do this. Do this thing. And remember that, everything in our industry, especially stuff like this, is going to work at scale. You have thousands of people that the ad is served to, if not millions. Hundreds of people watching, hopefully thousands. So small differences, in the verb that you use, one that's more active, one that's more passive, they will at scale add up to a larger amount of clicks and so on, and down the funnel. That's how it works. So that's always worth remembering. But ask the reader to do something, be specific, and be active.
Yeah.
I think we should wrap things up there for today.
As well.
Excellent piece of copy. And if you do want to send in a video or a finished or more finished and being tested piece of work, that's absolutely fine. Thank you very much to Sai for sending that in. And it was great to look at a piece of copy or an idea that we've already looked at and has been built upon. We're just here we just like talking about copy. We like trying to help improve things. And if we're able to help people improve their results, then we're doing our job. So let's wrap things up there. Glenn, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we will see you all next time. Goodbye.
And there we have it. We hope you got something valuable out of today's episode of The Fix.
Maybe it sparked an idea or two for your next writing project. Maybe it triggered a new headline, opening line, or story to tell your reader.
Maybe it inspired you to scrap what you have and start over. Or maybe it made you want to submit your current work in progress for a little constructive feedback.
If that is the case, send your copy to us at feedback@thefixcopywriting.com.
Or if you don't want us to review a specific piece of writing, send us a problem you're trying to solve.
Or a challenge you want input on, and we'll do our best to help.
And remember, if you like The Fix, Please do share it with other writers, business owners, and marketers.